So all the technology we have today didn't just come out of nowhere. We have a lot of great things like television, cell phones. I love the internet. Without the internet, I can't stream my Netflix or Disney Plus. um, but all the stuff we have today can be traced back to a rivalry we had with a certain country. And yes, I'm talking about the Soviet Union. Those guys are still in the picture. So let's back it up. It's the mid Cold War in the 1950s, and in 1957, the Soviet Union launches a satellite into space, and this is the first one. It's called Sputnik. Now, Americans know about this, even though the Soviet Union tried to keep things secret. Americans had never experienced satellites before, so all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, are they using it for spying on us? Are they trying to send secrets back to their communist government? What's the Sputnik thing do? Well, presidents couldn't just let Soviet satellites be in orbit. So nobody's really going to do anything about it till the 60s. Now, in the 1960s, President Kennedy, he's going to pledge increased support for the American space program. Because if the communists can do it, why can't America? We're going to do it better. And over time, it's going to become not just to get into outer space. America's going to go big, play all the cards, and say, hey, we're going to get to the moon first. So if you want to think of it, in a way, the whole race into outer space is because America was trying to outpetty the Soviet Union. So some highlights that come out of this. All right. By 1969, America does in fact get to the moon. All right. Kennedy set out the challenge, and he doesn't get to see it happen because he gets assassinated in 1963. But probably one of the most famous Americans ever, Neil Armstrong is the first person to set foot on the moon's surface. He proclaimed that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And America didn't stop there. The Soviets would try to launch other stuff into outer space. It was kind of a back and forth between the two nations. U.S. astronaut John Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth. Note that I didn't say that he's the first person. Okay, the Soviets had that too. Like I said, it was a big back and forth. And by the 80s, this is towards the end of the Soviet Union, so they're kind of falling out of the picture in the space race. Sally Ride becomes the first female American astronaut, into outer space. And this was a big step. Now, a lot of people like to think the moon landing is fake. It is not. They actually made it there. They brought moon samples that can be traced back to it. If you are ever wondering how we can prove the moon landing was not faked, the Mythbusters did a whole special episode about it. Check it out. All the theories about the moon landing faking is disproven. So, as you can imagine, our need to beat the Soviet Union at everything leads to great increases in technology and advancements that we use in our everyday lives. So some examples of technological advances that come out of the space race. Space exploration, of course. We get space shuttles so we can get humans and supplies and other things out there. Over time, we develop our technology to the point where we can go beyond we can go beyond our planets, beyond our moon. It takes years to get there, but we have robots who live and work on Mars. The Voyager missions, we're getting more people into space. And the Hubble telescope, to me, is one of the more significant things because this is just like, it's a telescope. Okay. Now, this thing is drifting through space, and all we have to do is keep in touch with it. And we have gotten images from the edge of the solar system from this. All right. We have gone deep into space, and this is the only way we know what outer space looks like beyond where we can go, is because this telescope is just drifting out there sending images back to us. Now, a lot of the technology that you know and love is developed for use to fight the communists. For example, televisions. We like being entertained, right? Televisions were used to monitor situations in the control room and on space shuttles. Personal computers, they had to develop something to get the astronauts up into space and keep them alive. Computers had to run the system. It used to be that the first computers, like I'm talking early, just after World War II computers, they would be giant machines that took up a whole room. The space race, you don't have a whole room to dedicate to computers. So they had to shrink computers down and somehow make them have better memory and better access. Cell phones, all right, comes out of the need to communicate long distance with astronauts, as does email and social media. And of course, advanced robotics. There's a great video of President Obama playing soccer with a robot in Japan. It's pretty awesome. You should find it. Now, we didn't just advance in technology, there was also great advancements in health. X-rays were harnessed and people can screen for broken bones. Cancer treatments are developed. What you're seeing here is one of the great plagues, one of the last great plagues in America, and that's a polio. And this is a disease that gets in your system and wreaks havoc on how you develop when you're a baby. So people are going to die from defects caused by polio, and it was a massive problem in the United States. But luckily for us, in the midst of all this technological advancement of the late 60s, we had Professor Jonas Salk. And he develops a vaccine for polio, not to make a profit, because he could have literally been an instant billionaire if he had done this. He invents the vaccine for one of the most dangerous diseases in the world, gives it out free of charge. He just wants to eradicate it. Okay. Now, before the vaccine, there were 15,000 cases of polio in the United States per year. And after mandatory vaccinations against polio became a thing, there have been 0 cases since 1979. So that just goes to show it's usually a better idea to get a vaccine than to not.